And kind of the thing, and this is real confusing to people. Parameter name, there's an underlying GUID, right? So the height, like I said, the height parameter is not the same height parameter throughout Revit, and they have to do this because price needs a parameter called height, and Taco may need a parameter called height, and they're not, these two manufacturers are not coordinating with each other and using the same GUID. So you have two parameters named height, but they're not the same. In this way, VM kind of unifies all of that data for you, and as well, so packages. This is a good segue into that. A package is just some portion of some model. A package could be an assembly, something you intend to pre-assemble and then ship to the field. An assembly is a thing built into Revit, but a package could be, it's just parameter. It could also be parameter based. It could be anything. You can make a package parameter called riser. You can make a package parameter called module. You can make a package parameter called spool, skid, anything you want, and you do this through package settings. And we do come with some packages out of the box, subassembly, assembly, subpackage, and package. Now, when you use assembly, it's going to create proper Revit assemblies, but you can also create anything you want, riser, right? And when you do this, say company A creates a parameter called riser, right? So now I could use this to create packages. And if this is not, say, in your Revit template, and company B makes a package called riser, you can rest assured that this riser is going to be the same riser as company A's riser, which is cool. So when you create parameters in through this interface here, it's going to ensure that the GUID jives with the name, which is really cool. So like here, we can absolutely make a package called riser, right? And then what we can do here is these are my package settings. So and what this is saying is, like, when I'm using the package tools, what do I want to do? Well, right now I want to make risers, and I'm going to push it to the spool name. So riser is a Revit parameter, right? CAD, CAM, and S, they don't know what a parameter is, but they will when I push to the spool name. But I can also push it to any custom data. So you can get with your database admins and say, hey, give us a few custom parameters. They'll be happy to oblige, and then you'll have them here, and you can push your riser to an identical riser custom parameter. But for now, we'll just push it to spool name. And these, I can get into these a little more in a minute, but we can. So when I'm creating risers packages, I want to override the visibility. This just hides it. When I create a riser package, hide it. So I know I've been there and I've done that. You have these options here, and these are just temporary kind of visual feedback. What have I done? Where have I been? So override visibility. And this is not a very good example of riser, but what I can do here is, and then you can absolutely just box select. Oops. You can box select and create a riser that way, but you can also use pick, which basically, so I'm going to say riser 01, right? I'm going to go from this canvas connection to the elbow, and it's disappeared, right? And we'll pretend this is a riser. I can keep going down the run. There's riser 2, there's riser 3, right? And another option, I can't remember if it was picked or not, but it's include taps and an OLED. So, and I believe it is selected. So when I select this piece, this tap should disappear because it's going to be part of the riser, and it did. So that's another, and I'm going to undo all this. So
I got a package question.
Sure.
So like probably a pretty common standard will be to do packages by areas, right? Like you might have zone 4 that has 40 spools. So you want to make your zone 4 package.
Sure.
And this is an issue I kind of run into with Revit right now is you got to remember to, like, let's say after area is signed off and you get it all assembled in Revit, you have to remember to go write that area 4 package parameter into everything. And like in this case, you're able to kind of just select it in. What I've seen happen then too, or like the only thing I don't like about that process is if you have to go back and delete and replace a piece because maybe a full length becomes a fitting, or unpiping, you're adding or subtracting pieces. I have to make sure my team remembers to go back and rewrites basically that parametric package data.
Sure.
Something that I think doesn't work, like admittedly doesn't work super well. I haven't gotten it to work super cleanly yet, but I like the concept, is has this like area box that you drop it down almost as like a second scope box in the area, and then
Absolutely.
that parts you model in there get that area data. So yeah, do you have any automations so that something that's in, say, an identified zone 4 that you've defined, as you make any updates, delete or add things in that area, that data is updated automatically?
Absolutely. So if we go to sheets, we can create. And this is kind of getting into the spooling tools, but they're not spooling tools. They work for any package, and a package could be a pipe battery detail. It could be a riser detail, not necessarily an assembly. And these are just, so these sheet tools work with that. And so you saw me. I just created that riser parameter in front of you, and here it is. So I can create a sheet out of risers and just go select all the risers. And another question was, well, can I have multiple schedules? Absolutely. You can have as many schedules as you want. And say you had, oh, I don't know, you had fire dampers in the riser, and those are families. So you would go pick your fire damper family template for your schedule, and then you'd schedule your duct with your standard, fabrication duct schedule, but all the templates in your project will show up here. And say you, like I said, you had fire dampers in your riser, and they were families. You would go and you would go make a scheduled template for fire damper families, and you could pick it here, right? But I'm getting ahead of myself. What I wanted to show you here is scope boxes. If you want to, you can go make scope boxes, and you can do that absolutely. And this will schedule everything in your scope box. It's
Oh,
smart and
nice.
it's smart in that way. Yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Sweet.
We do have another cool thing. This filter. Um, so this works on your basic Revit filters. I'm sure you guys are familiar. Uh, right. Let's edit. This is just your rule-based filter. So this is what colors my assemblies based on. And honestly, guys, the human eye is only going to be able to distinguish about 10 different colors in Revit, anyways. So these assembly zero. If assembly name ends with 0, assembly name ends with 1, assembly name ends with 2, right? But also you could do connector equals loose duct mate, right? And then you could do that through Revit, but you don't have to write 99% of these things. You don't have to write. It's right here, which is really nice. But now since I got into that, let's go ahead and do that. So if I go to the visibility graphics in your filters, then you can then pull in all of these rule-based filters, and this is how it's done. Um, uh, so any assembly that ends with 0 will be pink. Any assembly that ends with 1 will be. Now these are all turned off at the moment. So let me go ahead and go package. Let's go to our package settings. We're going to change this to assembly. We do have some options here. Now these are temporary. You could use, if you wanted to do your small map this way, you could, but I don't recommend it. These are just supposed to be temporary to know where you've been and what you've done. But this will do that as well. So I'm going to say, don't override the visibility, override the color, include taps and alerts and couplings. That's cool too. I'll show you that in a minute. So and we're going to go ahead and push that in the spool name as well. So let's say this is process cooling. So I'm going to say pick a package, and I'm going to start with PC-1. Okay. I'm going to say go from here to here, and that's PC1. But yeah, that's temporary, right? But let me go ahead and go back to VG. And if you wanted to make a spool map, then this would be in your spool map view. You would be driving your spool map through visibility graphics with these rules. I'm going to turn these on. Now this does have hierarchy. So because assembly is above 4-inch water gauge is green, right? But if I have it in an assembly, this is going to override because it's above. These do have, right? If you're familiar with Revit and visibility graphics, and you do have to, you guys, if you don't know about this stuff, you got to learn this stuff. But anyways, so there's that. I did turn that on. So now I'm going to apply OK. And then when I come to make spools, I'm going to go ahead and say, because my view is now driving it, I don't need my tool to drive it. And I'm going to say, OK, let's make assemblies. I'm going to say package, pick package, PC-1. OK. And I'm going to go from here to here. There's PC1, and then go from here to there. Go PC2. You just keep going down the run. Now, another thing I'll show you guys here is this option. Include, exclude, and couplings. Basically, this is field welds. This is just basically field welds. So notice that option was checked. So I picked from there to there, and then from there to there. And if we look at these welds, they are part of the assembly. I selected that weld as part of the assembly. But if we look here, it's not. This is a field weld, which is cool because you want to know, what welds are the shop doing, what welds are in the field, especially if you have to sign off on these welds and schedule them. It's going to do that for you. I don't think I did. So you can pre-select. I'm going to go ahead and pre-select. We're going to go to sheets. I'm going to make sure I create assemblies. I did create assemblies. And then I'm just going to create the sheets, right? And then so we go to project browser. Here's PC1. Here's PC2. Here's the ISO. Here's the plan. And now I have 2 schedules. That was another question. Yes, you can absolutely have as many schedules as you want. Here's a pipe schedule. Here's a weld schedule. And if, say, I had my families were valves, I could put a valve family schedule in here as well. And here's the sheet. So yeah, pretty simple. This is a simple example, right? This is just a 17 by 11. And honestly, guys, in a digital world, the shop has a big screen. The field has a big screen. You can make these as big as you want and get all the data on there. So if you had big schedules, you could all line them up in the right, the right bar could just be dedicated to schedules and signing off on welds. But if you notice here, I numbered the welds uniquely but I numbered the parts with interchangeable numbers. So we do have quantities here. I have 4 straights and 2 elbows, 245s, and a 190. Any questions on spooling?
With like the floor plan for the spool drawing, like I've always kind of wanted it just to be like just that little snippet of the spool map. Well, to show like the walls and like show the duct around it even, and just
Right.
kind of have it highlighted. But
Yes.
I don't, I,
So
I don't know if
yes,
that's possible.
yes, it
But
is possible. And I know the other guys are leaning into heavily into assemblies, and that's kind of, I don't know if you guys know this, but they're just kind of, you can create, Revit will create the views for you for an assembly. This comes out of the box and they're leaning on it. And the thing about an assembly view is if you're using assembly views, it's only going to show what's in the assembly. You don't have the option. You don't have the option to show the walls or the housekeeping pads.
right,
They're not part of the assembly. Well, that's the really cool thing about EVM is you don't have to create assemblies.
because I might want the architectural walls showing, and then I could
Exactly.
dimension off a wall or
Sure.
have those dimensions showing.
Sure.
But I wouldn't have to hop back between drawings.
Right,
I don't
right.
know.
For in complex, gang bathroom pipe batteries, right? You might want to show uh, the water closets, right? And they're not necessarily part of
Right.
the assembly. So yes, absolutely, you can do that. So let's disassemble that. Delete elements. Let's disassemble this. That's fine. So you can use parameter-driven assemblies. Um, so we're going to go to package, and we're not going to create proper assemblies anymore. We're going to create a parameter-driven assembly. Now, like I said, you can create your own. What am I making an assembly of? This could be pipe, bathroom, gang bathroom, whatever you want, like literally anything. We do have some out of the box sub package or a sub assembly is just a parameter-driven assembly. So we're going to use that, and we're going to go ahead and override the right color of the fill color because if you remember, our view filters were set up for assemblies, not this. But you could absolutely do the same thing. But instead of looking for assembly name, you'd be looking for whatever's here. And then if subassembly ends with 0, make it blue. If subassembly ends with 1, make it green. But we can't do that just here. But these are temporary. So let's do that. Okay. VM package, pick package. And then so again, PC-1. Okay. From here to here and then to here. Right. So now, and now notice they're not all selecting at once. They're still individual pieces. They're not assemblies, but they are. You go here, all of these have subassembly PC1. All of these have subassembly PC2. And then you could have there's unlimited layers to the onion. You could have packages inside packages inside packages. So I've got 2 subassemblies that could be in order, another package called order 1, which is in another package called area 1. There's this really, really, really flexible and powerful here. So this time I'm going to select everything. I'm going to go to sheets again. Sheets. Subpackage, no. This is a subassembly. So yes, go ahead and create sheets for that. There we go. Now, if you'll notice, Project Browser, they're not down here in assemblies. They're up here with the rest of your sheets, which gives you all of the power of regular sheets, which means you can have, right, the housekeeping pads and the water closets and the plumbing fixtures. Now, we don't have any here, right, but you could. You absolutely could. And would be the way to do that.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that makes more sense now, like for why really an assembly is just only showing what you have in that assembly. It's
Right.
just using the Revit assembly. Okay.